Okay, good morning everybody, and Hazak Ubaruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are studying together Perashat Nitzavim. Of course, a very, very short Perashah, but a very, very deep Perashah with a lot going on. And there is a Pasuk right here. Please open up to chapter 29, Pasuk 28. The last Pasuk of the chapter. And the Pasuk is a little bit unclear what it means, a little bit vague. The Pasuk says, Hanistarot ladonai Eloheinu. Concealed matters are for Hashem. V'haniglot lanu ulbanenu ad olam. And the overt act, the revealed things, are for us and our children. Okay, that's the Pasuk. I mean, yeah, kind of. That's usually how it works. Usually the things that we know about, and the things that are hidden, God knows about, right? That's, Hashem knows hidden things. What exactly is the Pasuk trying to tell us? And how does it fit in with what's going on over here? So I'd like to share with you a few different thoughts. First of all, the Rambam Nachmanides. And he says as follows, Moshe Rabbeinu just listed to us all of these scary curses that will befall somebody who disobeys the Torah, right? We violate. Very scary. But you know what? There's going to come a time in life that we're going to sin, at least, albeit by mistake. Nobody's perfect. Right? What about sins that I commit by mistake? Those are called shogeg. At the end of the day, fire is fire. Whether or not you put your hand in it on purpose or by accident, it's going to burn. And so the Jewish people may despair and they say, well, there's nothing that I can do because there's got to be certain things that I may not know. By mistake, I didn't know that that this was not kosher and I ate it. I didn't know that that's not allowed on Shabbat and I did it, right? I didn't know. Says the Ramban, that's what the Pasuk is coming to comfort us with. Hanistarot, hema hataim hanistarim min ha'osim. These are the sins that we do that we weren't even aware that we did them. They're hidden. That means that the hidden things, the sins that were hidden from us, that's for Hashem. We don't have to worry about Avon that we did. We don't have to get, some people, they live life very anxious, very nervous always. Yom Kippur, and I'm worried, what if by mistake I eat something? They have all anxiety. Relax. We do our best. We don't plan on eating. We're going to make sure we don't eat. And that's it. Chas v'shalom, something happens by mistake. It's not. I didn't do it. You have to. We shouldn't get so nervous. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what the Pasuk's telling us. Okay, relax. If you don't intend on doing it, then you don't have to worry about what happens if. Right? Okay. Don't get too anxious. Okay, anxiety is not good. If it's hidden, Hashem will forgive you. Don't worry. If it's shogeg, that's God's realm. Haniglot, things that are zadon, that's for us to worry about. We have to make sure that we don't plan on doing anything wrong. We have to do whatever we can that's in our hands to avoid doing any sin. So that's how the Ramban explains nistarot and niglot. They're referring one more time, the Ramban Nachmanides, to the deeds that we do, whether they're nistar by accident or nigle on purpose. The ones that are by accident, it's not our problem. I didn't know, it's not like a person, by the way, a person that stays their whole life covering their eyes, I didn't know, they're being foolish, right? To purposely just avoid knowing the future, knowing the consequences of my actions, to just play dumb, it's not what it's talking about. You can't play dumb. Oh, Rabbi, I didn't know that you're not allowed to eat, pork. No one told me. We're talking about somebody who's honest, somebody who is sincere, somebody who is studying, somebody who's learning. And they see all these, and they know. But there are sometimes things that happen past our realm, things beyond our domain. Those things, the Pasuk is calming us down. Relax. It's not your fault if you do something by shogeg that you didn't even know was there. Okay, very comforting. can relax a little bit. Rashi argues. Rashi says it's not what it's talking about. Pasuk says Rashi is actually referring to what we just said above, and that is the mitzvah called arevut. Arevut is all Kol Yisrael arevim zalazeh. Each and every Jew is responsible for the other. We're all in the same boat. So if you see a Jew, in America, you see somebody who's doing something wrong, it's not your duty to maybe call him out. You don't have to call the cops if you know somebody is maybe doing something illegal, right? There is maybe a lawyer, there's certain, code within law. A lawyer cannot represent someone who he knows is wrong. Okay, fine. But in general, when it comes to Jews, that's not true. In Judaism, we're obligated to do what's called tochacha, to rebuke, to reprimand, to criticize. We have to feel responsible for every single Jew out there. And that's where the mitzvah of outreach, kiruv, comes from. Why are all these Chabad guys on every corner putting on tefillin? You could be in a wedding, you could be in a bar, doesn't matter. They're there, they're trying to do outreach to everybody. Why? Because we have a responsibility. Not enough if I'm religious. It's not enough if I'm good. It's not enough if I'm doing mitzvot. There are Jews out there that are not. I have to help them. Of course, doing tochacha is maybe one of the most difficult commandments, because it's one of the commandments that we do wrong, right? Very hard to give rebuke the right way. It has to come from love. It has to come from a feeling of wanting to help the person. Often, that's not why we criticize. Often, we do it to put people down. We want to show that we're better. We want to show that we want to feel good about ourselves. That's not the right way to criticize, to rebuke. That's not what the Torah meant. And if that's how we're going to do it, then we're better off not doing it. But assuming we do it the right way, we have a chiyuv, an obligation to rebuke. Okay? Now again, maybe today, unfortunately, the commandment doesn't apply often because we don't do it the right way. But a person may say, well, Moses, I'm responsible for every Jew. I don't know what the guy's doing in his basement. I don't know what he's doing behind closed doors. I don't know how she's acting when no one's looking. I don't know what they're saying, what they talk. I don't know what they're eating. I don't know what they're doing. I'm responsible for everybody. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is telling us that we have a chiyuv, obligation to worry about every Jew. But every Jew, I don't know what they're always doing. Am I supposed to go to everyone now and call them up and say, hey, tell me, have you done anything last night that was inappropriate? I just want to know because I need to rebuke you if yes. Go ahead, tell me. Have you? Right? Not going to really work out so well. They're probably going to hang up on your face if you're lucky. Probably worse. So says the Pasuk, that's what the Pasuk's coming to reassure us. Hanistarot ladonai Elohenu. The hidden averot of the people around us, that's not for us to worry about. That's not where we have to rebuke. That's la Hashem. Where do we have to worry? Haniglot. Only the revealed sins that we know about of the people around us. That's our job, to reprimand them. Again, doesn't mean that we should go to everyone around us that we see doing wrong things and rebuke them. It doesn't always apply. Unfortunately today, especially, we don't know how to give tochacha the right way. We don't know how to rebuke the right way. But in theory, this is what the Pasuk is telling us. When it comes to rebuking others, we only have to worry about rebuking them when it comes to revealed averot. If they're not doing things that we don't know about, it's not my problem. Beautiful. So far, that's 2. Next. Number 3, Rambam. The Rambam, he explains this. Very interesting. We often search for the reasons of mitzvot. Anyone know how to say that in Hebrew? The reasons for mitzvot? Ta'amei ha-mitzvot. That's what we call them. You ever heard of that phrase? Ta'amei ha-mitzvot. Ta'am is a taste. Often in life we're looking for a taste. We want to taste the commandments. We want to understand why am I supposed to not wear woolen linen? Why can't I use a blade? Why, and why, right? We often want to know why. Now why, very good to know why. Very important to know why, right? There's many books written on the whys. However, there may be people, says the Rambam, that once they figure out the why, once they have the ta'am ha-mitzvah clear, all of a sudden what are they going to do? They're going to think that they're excluded from having to now do the mitzvah. You see, because they're smarter. The reason I do the mitzvah is to bring out within me all of these values and these beautiful lofty ideas. I already figured out the values and the ideas. Therefore, I don't need the mitzvah. I know why I can't wear woolen linen. It's about machloket, Cain and Hevel. Cain was a farmer, that's the linen. Hevel was a shepherd, that's the wool. And so I figured out why I can't wear woolen linen. Therefore, I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't apply to me. I'm allowed to now wear it because the message I got. I got the point. That's very flawed logic. It's very dangerous. First of all, because number one, who said that we're right? That's the reason that we can't wear woolen linen? That's why we have to keep Shabbat? That's why we can't shave with a blade? That's why these foods are not kosher? Maybe. There's other reasons. First of all, maybe our reason is wrong. And even if it's right, it's only a taste. There could be many flavors. There could be many other reasons that we do the mitzvot. So just because we figured out one, and by the way, the same logic could be applied the other way. A person may say, well, if that's the reason, then in this case I'm excused. Who did this? Shlomo HaMelech. Remember King Solomon, the wisest of all men? Shlomo HaMelech, he looked in the Torah, and the Torah gave us the reasons for 2 commandments. Which 2? You ready? The Torah says that a king cannot have many wives. Only allowed to have one. Okay? Not one, but can have many. Not one. He's allowed to have several, but he can't have too many. Okay. Polygamy in the Torah was allowed, right? A person could have a few wives. But a king, not too many. Why? Lo yarbelo nashim, the Pasuk says, because they may sway his heart. They may take you to different ideologies. Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, was very smart. He was the biggest, wisest man of all time. And Shlomo said to himself, he said, listen, I understand, that's why, but that's a regular king. I'm smarter than that. I don't have to worry about that. And therefore, I can have many wives and I'll be okay. And that's what Shlomo did. He had many, many wives. And what ended up happening? They ended up removing his heart from Hashem. And therefore, very important that we don't play God. Right? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay? Sometimes in life it's very important to keep it simple. Keep it simple. This is what it is, and we have to follow. When we get too smart, we can end up hurting ourselves. You know, there is a halakha on Shabbat. I want to tell you about a halakha. I'm not sure if you're aware of this halakha. It doesn't really apply today, because we have electricity. You'll see what I mean. But there technically is a halakha that you're not allowed to read Lo yikra adam le'or haner. We're not allowed to read next to a candle. It's an amazing story. There was a little kid, his name was Ezra. And his father died. And his mother was working a few jobs. This was going 120, 130, 150 years ago, somewhere like that. And this kid, every single day, he was a big scholar, studying, doing well in school. Every Shabbat, he would want to study. They didn't have electricity. They had a candle. So this kid would read next to the candle. The halakha is though on Shabbat, you're not allowed to read next to a candle. Right? Why not? Because we're worried that maybe the candle's going to be flickering. You're going to want stronger light, so you're going to tilt it to bring the oil closer to the wick. giving more light, and that's a violation of burning on Shabbat. You're not allowed to do that. If you see your candles about to go out, you're not allowed to add oil on Shabbat. You're not allowed to move the oil. You're not allowed to hit the lamp, flick it to make it more illuminating. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to touch the candles on Shabbat. So the rabbis were worried that if a person, anyways, one of the solutions is to have a shomer. What's a shomer? Shomer is a guardian. Have someone there protecting you, watching you, making sure that you don't move the oil. Because again, you're engrossed in your learning, you're carried away. You might by mistake, not even on purpose, you just may nonchalantly move it over. And therefore have someone watching you. So every Friday night, this little boy would sit down and he would study all night long on Shabbat, and his mother would be the shomer. His mother would be the watchman. Of course, she's exhausted, working a few jobs a week just to, put food on the table. And as this little kid one day was learning, he all of a sudden notices his mother dozing off, and she falls asleep. So of course, there's no one watching him anymore, and he can't learn. So he quietly starts closing the book. And as he stopped learning and he starts closing the book, his mother heard that there was silence, so she quickly opens her eyes, and she sees her son closing the book. She says, "What are you doing, Ezra? Why'd you stop?" He says, "Mommy, you're very tired. Go to sleep. It's okay. I'll learn tomorrow. It's fine." She said, "No, please. Open up, learn. I'm watching you." He's like, "Mommy, look, you're falling asleep. You're exhausted. You're so tired from working." And she starts yelling. She says, "I work my entire week just so that I could watch you learning Torah right now. This is the biggest simcha and pride of my life. Please don't stop learning." Of course, the boy continued learning. And this little kid, Ezra, you may have heard of him. He became one of the greatest rabbis in the previous century. His name was Rabbi Hacham Ezra Atiyeh, the rabbi of Rav Ovadia Yosef. So this is Hacham Ezra Atiyeh. This is the story with him and the candle on Shabbat. But this is a true halacha. One cannot learn next to a candle lest they may start tilting it for more light. Okay. Well, there was a rabbi. His name was Rabbi Ishmael, big rabbi in the Gemara's time. And you know what he said? Ani ekra velo ateh. It's okay. I can read. I'm not worried about it. I'm a big rabbi. And you know what happened? He started learning on Shabbat next to a candle, and he forgot, and he tilted it. And he transgressed by mistake the sin of burning on Shabbat. And he pulled out a paper and he wrote down, "I, Ishmael, owe a korban when the Beit HaMikdash will be rebuilt." And he says, how brilliant are the words of our rabbis. How brilliant are the words of our rabbis. That's what he says. Now, what did he mean by that? How smart are our rabbis? In what way were they smart? That they saw that you're going to maybe tilt the candle? Is that what he was referring to? That was the wisdom of our sages? The Be'er Yosef says something a little bit deeper. The Mishnah, when it lists this halacha, it says don't tilt the candle, period. It doesn't tell you why. Who said why? The Mishnah says don't learn next to a candle. Don't learn next to a candle, period. Why? It doesn't say. The Gemara came and said why. The Gemara is the one that said, because we're worried that if you learn next to a candle, you're going to come to tilt it. So the Mishnah actually was very smart by leaving out the reason. Because once you give a reason, you now open a whole avenue to people starting to think that they're above the reason. They're above the halacha. They're smarter than the ta'am. And therefore Rabbi Ishmael says, look how smart our rabbis were. Not that they saw prophetically that if you're going to read, you're going to tilt. Look how smart they were by leaving out the reason. Because if they didn't tell me why, then that's it, I can't do it. Once you start saying why, then you could start playing rabbi. And you could start thinking that you're above halacha. And therefore, some people think that once I know the reason, I'm excused from doing the mitzvah. And again, maybe there's other reasons to the mitzvah. So that's what the Pasuk says. Hanistarot la Hashem. Only God knows the full extent of mitzvot. Even if you know the reason, You're not excused from doing them. Do your job. Do the mitzvah. Don't think that now that you figured it out, you could just cut to the chase. No. Only God knows the real reasons. We quoted a few days ago in the class a Pasuk earlier in the Parasha. Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Jewish people, Pen yesh bachem. Maybe there's somebody here listening to all these curses, and they're saying to themselves, Shalom Yiheli, I'm immune. I'm okay. I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about these curses. He reassures himself, I'll be fine. Right? Remember we had a class on this. Why does this guy think he's fine? Why does he think he's fine? So we said previously, because he points to his heart. He thinks he has a good heart. It's enough if I'm a good Jew in here. I have a good lev. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you have other... main thing, God just cares that you're a nice guy, right? That's all Hashem cares about. Okay. We said that we saw the mistake in that logic. But the Pasuk here, there's another beautiful idea. Says Rabbi Bernstein, Ki bishrirut libi elech. I do what I want. You know why? The person feels, sure means to see. Right? Sure. Ashurenu velo karov, Bilam said. I would like to see it, but not so soon. To see. This person feels bishrirut libi elech. I have intense, unerring, infallible vision, supervision. I can see things in life perfectly. I have an intuition that God gave me. Bishrirut libi. I see things. Let me tell you something, Rabbi. Okay? All the values and morals, I know it already. I have such amazing clarity in life of what is right and wrong. My ethics are perfect. But you know what? The Pasuk says, Shlomo HaMelech says, Kol darchei ish yashar be'enav. Everyone thinks that their choices in life and the way they live and their path is the yashar, is the right one. Einstein once said, common sense is a collection of all the prejudices that we've collected by the age of 18. That's what common sense is. Beautiful line. Okay? We all have common sense. This is common sense. This is what makes sense. This is clear to me. We only think like that from all the different biases that we have throughout our lives. And these are really what form our common sense. And he thinks he has perfect, unflawed vision. And therefore, whatever I do is really right. Because I know what's right. Deep down, I know what's right. So if I'm doing it, it must be right. Why? Ki bishrirut libi elech. You're going to like this one. You ready? What does libi mean? My heart. But if you ever notice, the Torah always writes the word heart in plural. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha. To love God with all your levavecha. What does levavecha mean? Love Hashem with all your hearts. Hearts. With an S. We have a commandment to love Hashem with all our hearts. Plural. How many hearts do we have? Last I checked, I have one heart. Baruch Hashem. Says the Gemara, levavecha, you have two inclinations, Yetzer HaTov and Yetzer Hara. We have to love God with our Yetzer HaTov and our Yetzer Hara. Okay? How do we love Hashem with our Yetzer HaTov and our Yetzer Hara? Well, sometimes a person could use their drives for bad and do good things with them. Okay, we spoke about that in the past. Finding balance. Okay, finding the balance to make sure that we use our drive, bad drive or good drive, use both drives and channel them to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, that's levavecha. By the way, angels, they don't have a Yetzer Hara. Right? So when the angels come down to Avraham tells them, V'sa'adu libbechem. Let me feed your heart. Singular. Because they only have one. They only have a Yetzer HaTov. They don't have Yetzer Hara. Beautiful. What's very interesting is this guy here is saying, Bishrirut libi. With my heart. Again, singular. He doesn't say levavi. Libotai. Bishrirut libi, singular. Why? That's what this guy is saying. That's why this guy thinks. He thinks, Ve'idbarech, right? He thinks, Bishrirut libi. I only have a Yetzer HaTov. I have beautiful, clear perspective on life. I have an intuition. Libi. I have a good heart, and that's the only heart that I have. I don't have a Yetzer Hara. I know what's right. I know what I need to do to be a good Jew. I don't have to follow the Torah. I make my own Torah. Bishirut libi elech. And you know where that comes from? The sad reality is, like the Pasuk right before says it, Vehitbarech bilvavo. He'll bless himself in his hearts. You know where that flawed logic comes from, that you think you have a good intuition? From levavo, from your two Yetzer HaTov and Yetzer Hara. It's Yetzer Hara that's telling you all of this. Yetzer Hara is telling you to think that you only have a Yetzer HaTov. That's really the accusation against the Yetzer Hara at the end of time. Why is Hashem going to shecht him? What did he do wrong? He's doing his job. His job is to seduce us. He's doing it. Problem is, it's okay, do your job. The problem is that he comes and he also plays the job of the Yetzer HaTov. He sometimes comes and he tricks us into thinking that he's actually the good guy. That was never your job. And that's the third explanation of the Rambam. Don't try to play God. Don't try to think that because we figured out the deep secrets of each commandment that we're now okay. I'll give you an example. Shofar. We're going to have a class tomorrow night, God willing, right here in the synagogue on the depths and the ideas within the shofar. If you can make it, we would love to see you all. 7:15 Thursday night. We're going to talk about all the secrets, what the shofar is here to do. Tekiah, shevarim, teruah, all the ideas, right? So a person may say, wow, beautiful. Now I'm good. On Rosh Hashanah, let me just meditate on these thoughts and I'm okay. I don't need to hear the shofar anymore. I just could think about it. I know what it's here to achieve. That's a big mistake. Hanistarot la Hashem. Only God knows all of the reasons of shofar. Only God knows all of the reasons of any mitzvah. Our job is to do what's written, to follow the commandments. Of course, we try to find meaning and depth in each one, but ultimately, keep it simple. Okay, beautiful. That's number 3. One final thought over here, and that's from the Pesikta, the Midrash Rabbi Bernstein quotes. And if you look in the context of this Pasuk, Hanistarot la Hashem, right before it's dealing with Galut, with exile. Vayi haraf Hashem ba'aretzahi, God's going to get very angry, and God will uproot them from their soil in anger, fury, and great wrath, and cast them into another land, as is still the case. Okay? So, Moshe is telling the Jewish people that if we don't obey the Torah, there's going to be exile. Okay? You know, often we spend a lot of time and energy in our lives trying to figure out when is Galut going to be over. You ever wondered, when's it going to come to an end? When will Mashiach come? When's he coming, Rabbi? I remember my students, they love talking about Mashiach. Rabbi, what's going to be when Mashiach comes? Rabbi, how's it going to be? When's it coming? We do all these gematria. I heard it has to come by the year 6000. Is that true, Rabbi? Right? We love talking about Mashiach. We love talking about calculating and gematria, and there's hints. And it's very nice. Nothing wrong. Talk about Mashiach. You know what the problem is? We spend so much energy trying to figure out when it will come, instead of really what we should be doing is putting our energy into bringing it. Our job is not to calculate. Let me tell you something. My rabbi once told me that the reason people love talking about Mashiach doesn't come from a good place. It's Yetzer Hara. It's the Yetzer Hara trying to push them into just thinking about when it's going to come. Talk about it, but don't do anything about bringing it. Talk about Shabbat. No, Rabbi, I don't want to talk about Shabbat. Talk about kosher. No, let's not talk about kosher. Talk about being a good person. No, I don't talk about tzedakah person. No. Let's talk about Mashiach. So a lot of energy is spent into talking about Mashiach instead of actually worrying about bringing Mashiach. Our focus shouldn't be on calculating. Our focus shouldn't be on trying to figure out when, because again, that's all Maaseh Yetzer Hara. He's trying to detract us. He's trying to get us to focus on the wrong thing. The wrong thing is not figuring out when it's going to come, but figuring out how it's going to come. It's up to us to bring it. We're not going to bring it by talking about it. We're not going to bring it. We could sit all day long, talk about when Mashiach is going to come. It ain't going to come. Only one way it's going to come, and that is when we start doing the mitzvah, when we start doing teshuvah, when we start improving. So that's what the Pasuk is saying. Hanistarot la Hashem. Leave the date to Hashem. When is Mashiach coming? Leave that to God. Don't talk about it. Don't spend your whole life, right, talking about, thinking about, are we going to come back to life? Do we have a body? What if a person is married twice? Which wife is he going to be with when he comes back? His first wife or his second wife? What about Gilgulim? Are we going to come back with this body, with the previous body? Are we going to have, which family are we going to be part of, right? Okay, Hanistarot la Hashem. All these nice questions and conversations, what's going to be, if it's going to, leave that to God. Haniglot, our job to do what we do. We know there's 613 mitzvot. These are nigleh, these are our job. And when we do them, then that's the right way that we'll be zochet to a geulah. So these again are beautiful ways of understanding one pasuk. One pasuk, Hanistarot. Again, according to Ramban Nachmanides, it means the sins that we do by mistake. They're hidden from us. We don't know that we really did them. Don't worry about it. Don't get so OCD about mistakes. Number 2, Rashi, sins of other people. Other people are doing them. It's not my fault. I'm not held accountable for having to reprimand people for things that I don't even know that they did. Okay? Only way to worry about is the mitzvot that we do see others doing. The averot that we do see them violating. Okay. The Rambam, Hanistarot. Even though you understand the reason, you don't understand all the reasons. And therefore, leave the reason to Hashem. The hidden things is for God. Our job is to do the mitzvot, whether we understand them, whether we don't understand them. And finally, according to the Pesikta, don't worry about figuring out when Mashiach's coming. We just do our job of ensuring that we bring it. We should be zocheh to fulfill all of these different interpretations of the Pasuk, and we'll be zocheh very soon to Geulah. Okay, we'll stop over here, everybody. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.